Welcome back to another episode of Keto Friendly Joe. Today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about the timing of when you should eat and when you shouldn't eat. And I'm going to share some stories with you. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. And as usual, I'm probably going to yell. So you might want to turn it down a little because I get passionate about this kind of thing. So let's start off first of all with a story. And tell me if you haven't done this before, right? Put it in the comments like, no, Joe, you're out of your mind. I've never done this. I used to eat Oreos late at night. Oreos, chips, Thin Mints, especially Thin Mints, some kind of snacky dessert type food at night, pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I used to eat it at night. And when I say at night, I mean me and my wife would lay in bed and watch a DVR'd version, the DVR'd This Is Us. And we'd cry a little bit and we'd eat some sweets and we'd get a little bit of energy to stay up for that because we were eating the sweets, and it's just, we weren't really paying attention to how it impacted our bodies. Did it make us fatter? I mean, I don't know. Maybe not fatter, but definitely did not help us lose any kind of weight. So when I started this journey, one of the things that came up was when you eat. And I did a little bit of research, but what I realized is that there isn't a lot on the internet about this. So I wanted to share this kind of early on in the video process so it gives you a chance to be in the best situation when it comes to when you eat. And for some of you, this is going to be tough, but rule number one of when you eat is that you should never eat after a certain amount of time before you go to bed. So let me just back that up for a second to make it clear. Like we don't eat 3 hours when there's 3 hours left before we go to bed. We don't eat. So basically, if we're going to bed at 9 o'clock, we do not eat anything at all, no ingestion of anything at all after 6 p.m. Now, if we're going to stay up later, obviously you can eat a little bit later. And the reason behind that is your body has to have an opportunity to metabolize not just the calories, but also the carbs that you put into your system. Even if it's a low number, even if you're sticking to a low number on this. But your body has to have the opportunity to metabolize that. And the only way that's going to do it effectively is if you are awake and somewhat, not completely, but somewhat active. It's the only way that's going to happen. And don't get me wrong, in that time period before you go to bed, it's definitely okay to drink liquids, especially zero-calorie type stuff, zero-calorie, zero-carb type things like water, Powerade Zero, the Zevia sodas that I showed you guys yesterday. Those are definitely okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And doing the liquids is fine because you're just going to flush it out in the morning anyway, sometimes at night, but mostly in the morning you're going to flush that out anyway, so that's not a big deal either. But you should never, ever eat past the 3-hour threshold, right? So our rule in our household is we don't eat after 6 o'clock. We try to eat our meal as early as possible. But there's another reason why we do it that way as well, and I'll get to that in a second. So if we think about it this way, at night, and let's just be smart about it, right? Let's just use some common sense here. At night, our body shuts down so that it can repair and so it can regenerate or whatever it's going to do when you're asleep. And having food in your system bogs down that process as well. So you're actually going to help your reparation process and your regeneration process by making sure that you have no foods in your system 3 hours prior to going to sleep. So keep that in mind. Very important things. I alluded to it in the very beginning of our conversation here today. Intermittent fasting. I'm sure you've heard about like fasting, the word oh man, I can't eat anything. Well, you can eat. That's not the point. In fact, in this situation with intermittent fasting, you're supposed to still eat your target calories and hit your target carbs. You're supposed to still do that. But instead of doing it throughout the day in 3 meals and snacks and all that stuff, you do it in 2 meals and you do it in a 5 to 6 hour window tops. And you don't have to do it every day. You can do it every other day, or you can do it for multiple days in a row. In fact, I was reading today in one of the ketogenics support groups that's on Facebook, I was reading where somebody had been doing it for 2 straight weeks and had lost 14 pounds in the last 2 weeks, which is a really fantastic story, don't get me wrong. But no one's saying that you have to do it like that. But the way intermittent fasting works is you load up all of your eating in a 6-hour, maximum 6-hour window. So you have your first meal at noon, you have some snacks and whatever it takes to continue to work towards your target calorie count. Like for me, it's 2,000 calories. Continue to work towards your target calorie count. And then you're done eating by 6 o'clock. And then you don't eat again until noon the next day. That's an 18-hour window where you are not eating, but still you have eaten what your target is. And it gives your body the maximum opportunity to metabolize when you intermittent fast. I will also say this. You shouldn't intermittent fast until you know you're in ketosis. The only way you're going to know that is by getting the ketone strips that I talked about in one of my first episodes at Walgreens or Rite Aid or CVS. And it's cheap. It's like $6. And you get a whole bunch of ketones. So no ketone strips. So know if you're in ketosis before you do that, because not being in ketosis and intermittent fasting is not going to have any benefits to you, because you have to let your body burn the fat in order to gain energy. In fact, if you work out in the morning before you have that meal, you're going to burn even more. So just using common sense again, just using the mathematics behind our bodies, you'll find that you're going to burn even more fat if you do a little workout as well. And for me, what I typically do from a workout standpoint is I do about 4 or 5 sessions of 20 push-ups. I do about 15 minutes of crunches. I do some jumping jacks for about 2 or 3 minutes, nothing big to get the heart racing. I don't really overexert anything, and then I use some 15-pound weights to do some other things like lunges or some curls or silly things like that. But not a lot. But what I do is I do that in the morning, so that, especially when I'm in intermittent fasting, so that I can capitalize on the burning of my fat in order to create energy. So that's something that should work well for you once you get into ketosis. Now, if you're worried about ketosis, getting into ketosis, watch yesterday's video. I talked all about how to get into ketosis by lowering your carb count and by hitting your carb target, which is the key. Ketosis is absolutely the key. All right. That's all I have for today, folks. Rule number 1, don't eat past 6 o'clock. Rule number 2, try intermittent fasting a couple of days in a row. Still hit your target calories, still hit your target carbs, but don't eat past 6 o'clock and don't eat before noon when you're intermittent fasting. I'm Keto Friendly Joe. I hope this has helped you out. Have a great day.